Welcome back to the channel. Listen to what they're saying. For years I was saying this. Now you have fund managers telling you this. You see, it's becoming inevitable. The truth. Once you have enough information compiled, there's no way around this. This article is titled, Trillions. Trillions are coming. $300 billion fund manager predicts Bitcoin, ETH, XRP, Solana, ADA, and then of course they throw Shiba Inu in there, but that's of no concern to me. But Bitcoin, I agree, it's going to take a huge chunk of that. ETH is going to do what it does. XRP is going to take a huge swath of that. In my humble opinion, Solana is in there and Cardano as well. We know Cardano and Ripple are working together. They all know it. Folks, listen, they all know it. Let me try to calm down some of my excitement. They all know. They've known this. They kept it quiet for years that the trillions were coming. Although researchers like myself were saying it and we were showing you the evidence. There's no way around RWA trillions. Even if you take a piece of that, take a piece of those trillions, right? Interbank payments, trillions. B2B payments of all kinds, trillions. Small, medium-sized enterprises. Small, medium-sized businesses. Sorry, a little hair got on my lip. Trillions. Happens sometimes, little hairs will break off and just get right on your lip. You're like, it happens. Probably not to everyone, but I'm telling you. If you let your mustache hair start growing long enough, yeah, it's going to happen. They're going to break off and get on your lip. It's going to be, what's that? Right? Mid-sentence. That's just real life stuff, folks. Trillions. Wait, let me ask you a question. Like to do that. That's like a good little pantomime for thinking like, wait. What does it do to that price when the trillions do hit? I don't know what assets people have out there, not financial advice either. What does it do if a huge piece of those trillions hits XRP or Solana or Cardano or any of these bank coins? Let's read this little tidbit here. I'm happy. See, I'm very happy they're coming out and saying this now. Now you're hearing it from different angles, from different sources now. They can't hide it anymore. A $300 billion manager has forecast what could become the largest institutional inflow in crypto history. The other day, we just saw an article, folks. Yes, I'm very excited. Because they're backing up what I've been saying. Remember I said golden age? We had pros come out yesterday. Professional companies come out the other day calling this a golden age. Haven't I been calling it the golden age? For a long time. Folks, I'm telling you, we're on the right trajectory. All right? I might try to make it a little entertaining here, but this is serious business. Now you have this. Now they're not only saying golden age is here. Now they're saying the trillions are coming. We're on the right path. Let's keep going. The largest institutional inflow in crypto history, which means whatever's going to happen is going to be permanent. Or at least, I mean, you could consider it at the least semi-permanent. If you consider that it will last, whatever they're going to do is going to last until a new system can usurp this one, can overtake this one. Which means what? That means the prices go up and they stay at a new high. New high, new low. Whichever you prefer. But they're going higher. There's no way around it. This is just simple logic and deductive reasoning. Let's keep going. It's getting hot in here, isn't it? Somebody's like, no, Mick, it's actually kind of cold. I didn't mean literally. I'm just kidding. I'm playing with you. Hold on. I'm messing around. It says, expects roughly $300 billion to pour into Bitcoin and crypto markets over the next 12 months. Whoa. I'm reading it again. Let me. Roughly 300. Okay, that's reasonable. That's a heck of a timeline. Ooh, wee, what did they learn? They had to learn something to make them so bullish, right? Okay, so let's take this into account. They're saying this is a $300 billion manager. So they have we can assume they have very, very good research team. And they have very good analysts feeding them the information that is bringing them to this conclusion. Yes? These aren't people who just pick up a newspaper, read a couple of articles and just say, oh, this is what I believe. No. Which is what leads me to believe they know something we don't. They know about partnerships and deals that haven't been announced yet. They always talk behind the scenes. Folks, I try to give these examples because this is what I've experienced. What's better than what you've experienced, right? I remember being in certain industries and sports, and I said this before, the fights that people see today were already talked about 10, 15 years ago. They already knew who was who and who was going to be matched up. Well, Mick, you can't predict who's going to win a fight. What? I mean, in a way, you look at people's records and styles, you can actually see who's going to end up at the top. And then you get this grouping that is probably going to fight each other in the future, just like they did in the amateurs or whatever lower level. But anyway, nonetheless, those things were discussed beforehand. It showed me, this is one example, it showed me that behind the scenes, a lot of these big money individuals, they do the same thing across the board. They talk about things the public doesn't know, and they make plans to be able to capitalize on what they do know and what the public does not know. I mean, you can have your own opinion. Maybe you had a different experience, but that was my experience. And that was just in one industry. But, all right, let's move on here. It says, he linked the potential surge to spot Bitcoin ETF approvals in the U.S. And when he's saying that, of course, he means as a catalyst for everything else that's going on. The unleashing of crypto overall, because look, he's saying potential surge to spot Bitcoin ETFs, but he's referencing XRP, Solana, Cardano. So obviously he means for people to take this and extrapolate upon what he's saying, right? This is which he sees as a key on-ramp for institutional capital previously excluded by custody and regulatory concerns. He added that such an inflow would exceed $300 billion in institutional capital, dwarfing the total that had entered Bitcoin over its 15-year history at that point. He also noted that registered investment advisors managing baby boomer capital had already funneled about 10% of that expected flow into crypto through early ETF uptake. 10%. 10%. You think more of that isn't coming? As this is becoming more respected, and their respected leaders in those fields come to their clients and say, this is the move to make right now. This is the move to make. They're going to go for that. That 10% is going to rise dramatically. No doubt about it. And one thing about so-called boomers, they're all about respect. And they're serious business. They do not play around. And I'll tell you what, there's some pretty good investors as well. They don't play games. So there's more of that's going to come in. So we have that percentage to watch as it increases, right? A lot of that capital has remained outside of non-traditional assets, of course. But then also keep in mind the businesses. So you have this huge swath of both individuals and businesses not into crypto yet. That's trillions of dollars. Do the math yourself. You don't have to take my word for it. I'm not asking you to. I ask that people, if I'm going to ask anything, I ask that people do all this research, look into things, question everything, question me, question yourself, question everybody. Asking the why is important. That's how we get somewhere. That's how we brainstorm. We come up with thoughts. Nothing more important than the why. It's the cause. You're looking at the effect and asking, why is this? What is the cause of this? So that we can understand the full picture. Ask the why. That's all I ask of people. Ask why. All right, so let's go here. It says here, it continues, and then we'll move on to something else. We have more big news today. This was a pretty heavy day. It says USCO projects that these flows could expand the global crypto market capitalization to roughly $6 trillion, near doubling from mid-2023 levels, though the figure depends on prevailing valuations at the time of measurement. I agree with that. I'm glad they put that in there. Yes, and this is why I always try to emphasize utilization of different sources when it comes to information. It can be great to hear something from one Let's hear from 2 or 3, and then we can start crunching the numbers ourselves. We can, get the average if that's something you desire. But that's the way I was raised. My father always told me, he said, never get one opinion, get 3. Never get one doctor's opinion, get 2 or 3. Then you go from there. Really? Everybody in my family would tell you that. That's what he used to tell us. So now, let's move on here. There's more that they're talking about, and this is a good article. But let's move on here, okay? So, this article is titled SEC versus Ripple. SEC has just days left. Just days left to respond on XRP case, says legal expert. We'll see what actually happens. It says XRP is accelerating in adoption as institutional. Everybody's, see, they understand, they know. The golden age door creaks that much more open, but let's keep going. As institutional confidence rises, legal clarity deepens, and ETF buzz builds, while the SEC faces a tightening August deadline in court. Let's scroll down past the gigantic picture that all article writers seem to love. These giant pictures on these websites. The crypto community remains closely focused on the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission lawsuit against Ripple, hoping for a conclusion to the years-long case concerning the, Ripple. Although Ripple has announced that it is withdrawing its appeal, the SEC has not taken the same step. U.S. District Judge Annalisa Torres has rejected the proposed settlement between the agency and Ripple, prompting the further delays and continued uncertainty around the final resolution. I probably should have skipped a little bit of that. You want to be honest. I hate when we go over something we already know, but I was hoping that they might slide something new in there. It happens from time to time. Legal expert Bill Morgan addressed the situation on social media platform X last week, noting, quote, the SEC has not withdrawn the appeal in the Ripple matter yet. He explained there is no deadline. Okay, so what is the update here? There is no deadline on the SEC to withdraw the appeal. However, the SEC needs to report to the appeal court by August 15th, 2025. Which acts as a deadline for the SEC to do something. Although it may just ask for more time. We shall see. Appreciate that information, sir. We shall see. Let's move on here to this next article. All right. Feel like we're in a good flow today. We're starting to really get back to our flow now, right? Yesterday's video was great flow. I feel like today's video was really, really good flow. We're getting back into the groove of things. Yeah. All right. Now, this page will load up. I don't know what's going on here. SBI plans XRP ETF in Japan and hopes for major returns on, it says, I think 9% Ripple stake. I believe that's what they put here. It says here, SBI Japan plans to launch 2 exchange traded funds, one of which includes XRP, Bitcoin, and gold. The move follows rising institutional demand for crypto exposure, particularly in Asia and North America. My apologies. A little air in my chest. Every time I talk for a long time, if you don't know it, now you know it. When I talk for a long time, I get a little air trapped in my chest. It happened to any of you? It says the company disclosed the initiative in its Q2 2025 financial report published on July 31st. The planned funds are titled Digital Gold Crypto ETF and Crypto Asset ETF, focusing on diversified and crypto-only investments. Respectively, SBI aims to list the ETFs on the Tokyo Stock Exchange after regulatory approval. This expansion aligns with the firm's strategic push into blockchain and digital asset markets. SBI, first of all, let's just establish SBI loves XRP. This is going to be an interesting year or two. I want to see what institutions and what high value clients, and that will come out. It will take some time, but it will come out. That SBI is going to be bringing to the table. And don't forget, and when I think SBI, I don't know why, but I think of these 2 companies together, and I probably should not. But when I think of SBI, for some reason, I also think Uphold. Probably because they're 2 large institutions that have been backing XRP for so long, so my mind just connects them together. But Uphold, maybe about 2 years ago, remember they were saying they had a bunch of that's what they said this. If they didn't want us to know, they shouldn't have said it. They said they had a bunch of companies or institutions utilizing XRP, but they never named them. Who are they? Perhaps that information might come out soon into the future. Now, when they said that, it was still a bloody bear market. all the different regulators were against crypto at the time. So I can understand why they didn't say the names, possibly trying to evade backlash. But now times are different. Perhaps we learn a few of those names as we're creeping into the complete unleashing of crypto. So, I mean, my mind just goes there. I'm keeping that stuff in mind, right? This is both ETFs target institutional interest in digital assets while reinforcing SBI's long-standing partnership with Ripple. These ETFs could boost XRP's global presence. Not that it needs help. XRP's, in my humble opinion, you have your XRP, Chainlink, Solana, XLM, Algorand, Hedera. They're going, and I'm going to throw Cardano in there. They're working with Ripple now. That's what Charles Hoskinson said. Look it up for yourself if you don't know. So I have to throw Cardano in there. They're going to, so all they have to do is do their job. That's it. They're going to dominate. So ETFs are a beautiful thing, sure. Sprinkles on top of an already fantastical cake. In my humble opinion, you could disagree, but they're going to dominate nonetheless. SBI expects Japan's evolving crypto regulations to support faster approvals. All right. SBI crypto asset ETF will comprise only XRP and Bitcoin, focusing on direct exposure. Although SBI has not yet disclosed the asset allocation, it confirmed plans to list the product in Tokyo. This initiative underscores SBI's increasing confidence in the future of XRP ETF products. In contrast, the digital gold crypto ETF will combine gold with the Franklin Bitcoin ETF. Over 51% of this fund will be in gold, while the rest will be allocated to Bitcoin ETF. SBI aims to appeal to investors seeking diversified exposure to both traditional and digital assets. Okay, let's stop right there. Let's get in a little bit of Bitcoin news while we still have time. I hope you're all doing great out there. Remember, stay focused, right? Remember, you are great, right? You should have that in your mind. Never, ever, ever have denigrating thoughts within your mind. Never put yourself down. Always build yourself up. The world, life is hard as it is. Tell yourself good things. Wake up in the morning ready to conquer. Visualize. Visualization is important. Visualize yourself conquering whatever is in front of you that you need to conquer. Or if you don't like the word conquer, accomplish. Visualize yourself accomplishing it. This is one of the things we were taught when we were young in combat sports. Visualize the takedown. Visualize the knockout over and over again. And I used to always do that. I do that to this day with other things. I play the match in my head over and over and over before I even get there. Every possible scenario. What can I do? What can the opponent do? How do I overcome all of these different possibilities? Over and over and over again. When I get there, it's like I've already done it 1,000 times. And I'm ready to succeed. I'm ready to accomplish, to conquer. Visualize yourself being great. Visualize yourself getting to the goal. And then do it. So now we have this article here. It's titled Bitcoin Price Eyes $116,000 Liquidity Sweep with ETF Comeback in Focus. It says Bitcoin ETF net flows may be key to gauging market appetite as exchange order book liquidity puts 116K top of the list for bulls. I'm not worried about Bitcoin, not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. When I do become concerned about Bitcoin, you're going to know it. I just get on camera, I press record, and I just speak from my mind and my heart. That's it. From my soul. That's it. When I'm concerned, you're going to know. It says here, and if I don't say it, then I'm not concerned. I'm not. It says here, Bitcoin bounces. Okay, key points. Bitcoin bounces as liquidation guardrails appear above and below price, making 116K a key level to watch. Next bullet point, expectations call for Bitcoin price support to hold above $110,000 should bears take control. If it dips a little bit, if there is a correction, even then, I must be honest with you. I can do nothing else. At this point in my life, you're going to get my rawest thoughts ever. You ever reach that point? There's a certain level of like maturity. You get to this point in life, you've done so many things. You've experienced so much, and it's like this burden is lifted from you. It's hard to explain, but yeah, you're going to get my most raw thoughts. This is seen a lot in older people. People older than myself, of course. Somebody out there's like, Mick, you said it. You said it. I didn't mean myself. Other people. Anyway, where, you know, they see other people, older people will just say whatever's literally on their mind. And sometimes it can be great. Sometimes people might take a little offense, but the older person being free of like this worldly burden of perception that's placed upon them, they're just completely free, just completely innocent of, I don't know how to phrase that. I don't know how to put it, but you understand what I'm saying? That's how I feel. Anyway, right now in life, that's how I feel. I feel in that way. So ETF flows should provide an insight into market mood next, says analyst. Bitcoin approached $116,000 after Monday's Wall Street open as bulls targeted sell liquidity. All the companies are buying Bitcoin, getting into Bitcoin every week, every 2 weeks, every month. You hear about somebody, some big time company or a big timer getting deep into Bitcoin. And then what are the other articles that we read? Oh, retail is selling Bitcoin. Oh, wait. Not just the regular retail people selling Bitcoin. The long time holders, the maxis selling Bitcoin. Folks, you have to make up your own mind. Don't be moved back and forth, not by me, not by other people. Make up your own mind and you'll be safer that way. You'll avoid manipulation that way. In my humble opinion, that's how I feel. You do what you want to do. It's not advice. I'm just saying. That's how I think. Protect yourself at all times. But see what's there. Observe with your own eyes. Perceive with your own mind. Because as they're all selling, the companies are buying. What does that tell you? Why would they buy if they were only going to lose money? No, obviously, if they're buying at these ranges, they're expecting Bitcoin to go up significantly enough where they can see a delicious profit. Right. So let's keep going. That's how I look at it. All right. To each his own. I can respect your opinion. You know, walk your own path. All right. I'm going to walk mine. That's no doubt about it. And that's the path I'm on mentally right now. I see what they're doing. They want Bitcoin to themselves. Right. Anyway, and they know that retail is riddled with doubt. It's easier for people to doubt themselves. And oftentimes I've seen that. They just doubt themselves. They could be the greatest. I've seen great artists. I've seen great fighters. You wouldn't even think. Folks, anyway, I'm not going to tell you more stories. I have a lot of stories I could tell as examples. But great fighters, and I know they're going to get the knockout. I know this art piece is going to sell. This is what I do. I research. I evaluate things. It's what I do. My entire life. I was taught by my father at a young age. And I'm telling them, hey, that art piece can go for less. That's a great art piece right there. You sure, Mick? I'm sure. What happens? That art piece sells for a lot. I'm not going to put a number. I'm going to say it sells for a lot. The fighter. This is when in my younger years when I used to deal with sports. I don't deal with sports anymore. That's a long time ago. But I'm telling them, like, I see this here. Same thing I do now. I see this here. This person does this and that. And if you use this here, I think all you have to do is just be yourself. And you're going to get the victory. Sometimes even I see a knockout. In my humble opinion, I'm like, I see a knockout coming. And what happens? It turned out the way that I said it was going to turn out. So you can't exist riddled with doubt, but they know that. They see that flaw in retail is what I'm saying. They see that flaw in retail and they're exploiting it, knowing that easily retail will fall back and retreat at the littlest news. And that's why I say I believe retail has to be careful with where they're getting their news sources from and just getting a multitude of sources, you know, in my humble opinion, not financial advice. All right. But let's keep going here, especially Bitcoiners. They want your Bitcoin. Bitcoin is hot on fire right now, and it's not going to change anytime soon based on the catalysts that are there that are only going to increase, and they're not going to be negated or decreased anytime soon. Look for yourself and then ask yourself those questions, or, you know, I think that you'll see that. It says a late weekend rebound continued as TradFi markets reopened, and traders were hopeful that further Bitcoin price gains would follow. You know, it doesn't have to be a consistently upward, drive. There's going to be some plateaus. There could be some dips. That's good. That's normal. That does not mean you have to look at the grand picture, the grand scope, big picture stuff here. And when you look at the big picture, that's where you see everything is continuously going up. You zoom in, you look a little closer, and there's going to be dips, little manipulations, little corrections. So be it. Woo way. That's the flow. That is the flow. All right. So, all right. Now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? I know what I'm going to do with it. So until next time, everybody, let's get to the money.